Right, time for a few more of your questions or comments. Thank you very much indeed for those. Anyway, for the nice ones, of which there are many, I'm embarrassed to say. So I've got them here on my phone. First is from Tim Howard. Peter, you gave Carlos Sainz a hard time for messing up in Melbourne. Give us a few examples of drivers who've got it right when things go wrong. He's referring to some comments I made about Carlos when he went off. I think it was the first lap, didn't he? And he's on the grass, and then he tries to get. Well, for a start, he lost it, which Kevin Magnussen didn't do. He just used too much steering, too much throttle on the grass, and then lost it. And then he tried to do a spin turn or whatever, and all got bogged down. So yeah, that was that. But I don't know. This is a good opportunity, I think, just to talk about some of the things, some incidents that spring to mind when I think about amazing Grand Prix drivers, Formula One drivers. And yeah, I've driven with quite a lot of them on the road. Gilles Villeneuve, very good example, just amazing guy, amazing car control. He could handbrake turn a car into a space with an inch of margin either side, no problem at all. So Gilles was brilliant. Carlos Reutemann was brilliant. Car control wise as well, just loved the feel of a car on the edge, what he would call the Ingemar Stenmark edge, which is sort of 10% over, or 10% angle, I guess, 10-degree angle to the apex, if you want to call it that. Just enough to be perfect, but not to be scrubbing off speed. Anyway, and then I thought of some incidents, and you know, there's three incidents out there in my mind through my life that have stuck with me. And one of them I actually never got to verify until today in preparation for this, because it was so outlandish that I just thought, yeah, I must ask him about that one day. Anyway, the story went that Jackie Stewart, now Sir Jackie Stewart, in the 67 Tasman at Longford, which was the incredibly fast road circuit in Tasmania, all public roads, and it was basically a square, but there was some ups and downs. There was a viaduct under a railway crossing. There was a right-hander by a pub. You went over a level crossing. There was a bridge. There was a million, and there was an unbelievably long straight towards the end of the lap. And it was bounded by trees, gum trees in Australia, with crosswind. And Chris Amon, when he had the Can-Am Ferrari 330 P4 Spider of David Mackay, Scuderia Veloce, was doing, I think he did 186 on that straight, which is quicker than they were going in the Tasman cars, because the Ferrari obviously was a lot quicker in a straight line, much bigger engine, the B12. But Jackie Stewart, get back to Jackie now, he did the Tasman in 66 and 67, both occasions with BRM. He was unbelievably quick in both. Obviously he matured a lot in those 12 months, and racing in Europe and winning Grand Prix as he did. Well, the 66 Monaco Grand Prix. But when he was in the Tasman, he was phenomenally quick. And he was just like the new kid on the block. He was this new young Scot. And he won both the heat and the final in 66 at Longford. They had racing on the Sunday and the Monday there. It was a fabulous weekend. And he won that. And he won it from the pole. I mean, he was really quick. 67, Jack Brabham was really quick as well, and Jim Clark had the Lotus 33, so he was kind of up to speed, although he was on Faststones. The BRMs were on Dunlops, and some circuits suited the Dunlops, some the Faststones. Anyway, in 67, Jackie was very quick in qualifying, but the gearbox failed off the line in heat 1, and they had 2 heats on the Sunday. And the second heat, they put him into Chris Irwin's BRM, and he finished, I think, 3rd or something like that. And then he went back to his own car for the big race on the Monday. And he was lying second, and this is where it gets to the punchline. He was lying second, about 3 seconds behind Jack Brabham, going really well, when he started to get in his right foot, his accelerator foot, a cramp, basically, an incredible pain, an agony. And he couldn't keep his foot flat on the straight down this incredibly long straight at Longford. They're doing, I would guess, 170, I think it was about 177, 178 miles an hour, 5-speed gearbox BRM. And Jackie, so the story went, to cure this, to get him through the race, crossed his legs. And on the straight, he was using his left foot on the throttle. Using his left foot on the throttle, not on the brake, left foot accelerator. And then just before the braking area, he would go back to putting the right foot on the throttle, and then he'd do his double declutching, his heel and toeing down into it was a very tight corner, probably first gear, the right-hander they had to brake down for. And so I've often thought, wow, and this is, okay, he had seatbelts by then, and he had the spanner taped on the steering wheel, but he didn't have a lot else. And to do that, left foot on the accelerator. So I just thought, when this question came in, and thank you very much, Tim Howard, when this question came in, I just thought I'll ring Jackie and ask him if that actually happened. And I just spoke to him. And I said, I know you're off to Miami, Jackie, but just answer this question. Did that all happen? And he said, oh yeah, absolutely happened. And as a matter of fact, I had an operation on the right foot afterwards when he got back to Europe because it was so painful. And so it did. I can verify it. He did actually do that. He's got to be the only Grand Prix driver, probably in history, I would think, to have done that, to have used his left foot on the accelerator for a right foot accelerator layout. Okay, obviously it was different in the old days when they had different pedal layouts, but we're talking about accelerator on the right, then the brake, then the clutch, and he's using the throttle with the left foot. So Jackie, that was one amazing thing, So then you look at, I see that in the context of quite a lot of stuff that goes on today. That was seriously impressive, committed racing, if you like. And a couple of other things sprung to mind as well. The other was Richard Attwood, a 69 Monaco Grand Prix. He's standing in for Jochen Rindt, who's had the high wing failure at Barcelona in the previous race. And as a result of that failure, and the one on Graham Hill's Lotus, they ban the high wings after the first day of practice at Monaco, and they go from high wings to low wings in one weekend. And Richard Attwood is the poor guy who's drafted into Lotus, never having driven a 49, of course, or with the Cosworth engine, for the matter of fact, to take Jochen's place, and Graham's in the number one car. And he's done, and Lotus hire him because the previous year he drove so well up the BRM, finished second in the BRM to Graham Hill. So Richard's doing this race, and he's going really well. I mean, he's running fourth. And halfway through the race, the gear lever knob on the 49, which was one of the little wooden Lotus gear lever knobs that of the type they had on the Elans on my car, it's just a screw thing, came off. The gear lever knob came off, the wooden gear lever knob. So you can imagine what that was like in terms of potential blisters and stuff. He just got a steel little pole now that he's changing gear with around Monaco, of all places. But much worse, he's got this gear lever knob running up and down under the footwell area in the Lotus 49. And what Richard did was use his brain and think about, okay, what the worst thing that can happen here is that the gear lever knob gets tangled in the pedals and I have a shunt brake or accelerator, whatever. So I've got to get hold of that gear lever knob. So he sort of thought about it, and as he was going up the hill from Saint-Devote, he knew it would start to roll down from the pedal area where it had been. And as it did, he put his hand down, grabbed the gear lever knob, and semi-screwed it back on in the middle of the Monaco Grand Prix, and still finished fourth in the race. I thought that was very impressive, Richard Attwood. And then another one, and then this is the end of this particular answer. Dan Gurney, 62 German Grand Prix, in the rain in the Porsche. He was really quick. He could have won that race. He'd have won the French Grand Prix, not in the wet, but it was a race-winning car, that Porsche, and he was super quick around the Nürburgring, Dan. And on the opening lap, the bracket, or part of the bracket holding the battery to the side of the Porsche, and he's in a space frame chassis. It's not a monocoque chassis, it's a space frame chassis, tubes everywhere. The bracket came loose, and it's by his left leg, and he can feel the battery moving around, touching his leg as he's going over the Flugplatz, Pflanzgarten, Wipperman, all these amazing parts of the Nürburgring, and he's got this battery bashing against his knee. And so what Dan does, he does the rest of the race, pushing his left leg as much as he can into the battery to keep it in place, knowing that if there was any spark, any short, potentially the whole thing would just go up in flames because it was right next to the fuel tank, which is in the side of the car as well. But he did the entire German Grand Prix doing that and finished third. So yeah, there were three examples of drivers. Okay, you could say of a completely different era, but they all did things that were nothing actually to do with their era. They were all to do with, yeah, I'm going to solve this problem. I'm a racing driver. I'm going to find a fix for this. And they created their own fix in the middle of the race. And I mean, of course, a current Grand Prix driver, if obliged, could probably do a similar thing. Some of them could anyway. But there's 3 examples of 3 guys who are outstanding, really, with their bravery and their commitment to get the job done.